on Facebook. Let's make sure this video actually starts. We live, yes, we are live on Facebook. Checking that LinkedIn is coming in properly. Mic's on. Let's get over on IG and TikTok. We live. Checking that LinkedIn is coming in properly. Mic's on. Let's get over on IG and TikTok. All right, silence the feedback. LinkedIn is good. Facebook is good. Rumble, X are good. YouTube is good. Now let's just make sure we are good over on Instagram. And good morning to all of you over on TikTok. Topic here today, we're going to talk about Kanye West and his wife. Kanye West, and his wife showing up naked to the award shows. Kanye West wasn't naked, just his wife was naked. So Kanye was fully clothed. He was wearing his, I don't know what that was he was wearing, but he was wearing a sweatsuit. Usually Kanye wears sweatsuits. So he's usually in a sweatsuit. So Kanye was in his normal outfit, which is a sweatsuit, and his wife, tell me on YouTube, my connection is a little bit janky right now. Let's check, see if we can get that reconnected. All right, so we are good on YouTube. YouTube, can you hear me? Good morning. Instagram, good morning. TikTok, good morning. Rumble, X, Facebook, good morning. So the topic again today, we're going to talk about Kanye West and him showing up to an award show. He was fully clothed, but his wife was pretty much naked. I mean, she technically had something on. She had on a sheer dress that technically covered her body if you looked hard enough, but you could see everything. You could see everything that she had. All her physical assets were out on display. And the topic that we're going to talk about here today is this a reflection of Kanye mentally abusing his wife and controlling her, or is it a reflection of a woman who is simply expressing herself the way that she wants to express herself? And this is a conversation that needs to be had, because this is really not about Kanye. It's really about that. It's really about this the duality of feminism and how it seems to be used very conveniently, not by everybody, but by feminists who are pushing the feminist agenda. That's what we're going to talk about here today. And I will tell you all up front, before I get to introduce myself to the topic, my son had a fever like 2 days ago, probably still has a little bit of it, and I think he passed it on to me. So I'm still going to perform. It's like the flu game, like Michael Jordan flu game. We're still going to perform and do what we got to do here today. I was thinking about maybe not doing this. Maybe I'll take a nap after I'm done with this live, but we are going to get to the work as we are supposed to. And any of you have kids, you know how it is. So your kid goes and picks up something. You're around the kid now, you pick it up. So he gave it to me. This ain't going to last more than a day, but it's not going to stop me from doing the job that needs to be done. I wrote a whole book on that. It's called The Third Day. Where's that book? I can't see it on the screen right now. The Third Day is this book right here behind me. It's all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. If you don't own a copy of this book, I'll give you one for free. Just go to thirddaybook.com. Just spell out what it says, thirddaybook.com. I'll give you a free copy of this book. This book is all about how to show up and give a great effort on the days when you don't feel like giving any effort, such as you picked up a fever from your kids. But I'm not telling you that to ask for sympathy. I'm telling you that because we're going to get the job done anyway. So introducing myself, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm author of 40 books. I've done 4 TEDx talks. I have this company called Work on Your Game. What we do here, to make it really simple, is we help high-level performers perform at their highest level and go to higher levels. We help them do so consistently through systems and strategies, and then we make sure they're held accountable for full implementation. You can find out more about that by going to dreuniversity.com, dreuniversity.com is where you can find out more about that. So let's get into the topic here today, because I got several points I'm going to get to. And what I usually do in these lives, for those of you who are new and you just stumbled across me, shout out to those of you who found me on the For You page, the recommendations page on TikTok, is I will go through the points, all the things I want to share. And then if you have a question or comment after I go through all the points, I'm going to read through the comments. I'm going to engage with your commentary. So if you think I'm ignoring your comments, I'm not ignoring them. Let me get through all my points. When I'm done with the points, then I'll address all the comments. That usually takes me, I usually do these lives for about 60 to 120 minutes, depending on the subject, depending on the engagement in the comment section. So this will take me about 45, 50 minutes to go through the material. You can hold your comments or you can post them, and then when I'm done, I'll go through the comment section. I will tell you all who are on TikTok that the feed tends to go very quickly. So if you post a comment right now, I might not see it by the time I get to reading the comments. So you may want to just copy it and paste it in again so you make sure I see it. But don't do it over and over again. That's spam. All right, so let's get to it. So this whole conversation, first of all, let's set the stage so all you know what I'm talking about. All you know what I'm talking about when I talk about Kanye and his wife showing up naked to the show. All of you have context. So Kanye West, we all know he's a musician. I think most of you know that. He was married to Kim Kardashian. I think most of you know that. I think they had 4 or 5 kids, something like that. They had a bunch of kids. Then they got divorced. So they're not together anymore, but they still have these kids together. Kanye went and got another girl. And this girl is named Bianca. Her last name starts with a C. Doesn't matter. Y'all know who we're talking about. Her name is Bianca. I haven't really heard her talk much. And she was a model. And she worked for, I think she probably still works for Kanye's company. And I guess that started a workplace romance, and he ends up marrying her, and this is his wife now, this woman, Bianca. So she seems to be, from what I've seen, and I don't follow celebrity gossip or any of this stuff, but Kanye West is a much talked about person. So when something about Kanye happens, it tends to find its way to me because I am a social media user. Most of my social media using is on X, formerly known as Twitter, that's currently owned by Elon Musk. So any of you who's on any one of these other apps, do not expect me to engage with you in commentary and back and forth on the other apps. The only app where I do that is on X. So on TikTok, I post a lot, and you see when people leave comments, you don't see me responding to the comments because I don't scroll on TikTok at all. My discipline is I only use X as far as social media goes. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just letting y'all know. So on X, something happens with Kanye. Usually it makes it somehow, some way to my feed, and there'll be a picture. Usually it'll be a picture of Kanye West and his wife out doing whatever they're doing. As y'all know, any of you know anything about Hollywood, you got the paparazzi. They just hang out in LA or wherever they're at. I never lived in California. Been there, but never lived there. They just hang out and they note a celebrity doing something, going to the grocery store, picking up the kids from the daycare, whatever it is that the celebrity is doing, going to an event, and the paparazzi go and take a bunch of pictures. And then they post the pictures, or they'll try to stop the person and ask them questions while they're walking by, or most of the time the celebrities usually don't stop and talk to them, right? They'll just keep walking. They'll try to ask them questions and talk about stuff. There's a whole industry around this called the paparazzi. Most of you are familiar with it. So every time I see Kanye, over the last couple of years, ever since he got generally canceled by the mainstream media, you don't see him doing interviews anymore. After he attacked the J people a few too many times, you don't see Kanye publicly doing interviews, but you do see him physically. You see him in pictures. He is always dressed pretty normally. Again, Kanye is a kind of a chubby guy. He's gained a good amount of weight over the years. And he's usually in a baggy sweatsuit. And then his wife, this chick Bianca, she is always in some very revealing clothing. She's always in revealing clothing. I've never really seen her in anything modest or anything that is covering up her body. She's usually showing something off. Even when she's wearing the athleisure gear, which a lot of women wear these days, which would be the spandex, the compression gear. Even when she's wearing that, which I don't think you can call that clothing modest. That's not modest. But even when she's wearing that stuff, it appears that she is not wearing a bra. She'll have on a sports bra, but she won't have on another bra, and her nipples, you can see them very clearly because the nipples will be poking out from her clothing, and she always has something out. So to me, it seems that she just likes showing off her body, which is not necessarily a negative thing. Depending on your age bracket and when you grew up, you may consider that distasteful, but the world that we live in today, regardless of your age bracket, y'all know what it is. Y'all use social media. Y'all know what it is. So every app that we're on right now, when I say every app, maybe not LinkedIn, but all the rest of the apps that we're on right now, all of you know that there are women out there whose main job, it appears, is showing off their physical assets, and they use that to draw attention, and ostensibly they're using that attention to monetize it in some way. This is why you have OnlyFans, you have the escort business, you have the stripper industry, and you have the soft porn industry. Social media has come to accept that soft porn is okay to be posted on social media apps. So what this woman Bianca is doing is not some out of the ordinary thing. Again, any of you get on Instagram and get on the Explore tab, if you scroll for a couple minutes, especially those of you who are males, you're probably going to get some soft porn shown to you because Instagram's algorithm assumes that you might be interested in that. Now, if it believes you're a heterosexual, it's going to show you that. Everybody agrees with this. We all know this. So what we're talking about here today, back to my main point, this is the duality of feminism. Here's the duality. On one hand, you will have women talking about how empowered they or we are. When I say we, I mean women talking. How empowered women are and how they don't necessarily need a man, and how they can be a girl boss, and it's time for a matriarchy, and men have had their turn to run things. It's time for women to take over, and y'all know the kind of stuff that people who are into this feminist nonsense say. Yes, it is nonsense. I'll explain why. So you hear the type of stuff that people in feminism say. And it's not just women saying, there's also men. I call these men feminine energy men. They're basically females in men's bodies. And they are parroting this nonsense in order to get a round of applause from the women. And one of the reasons is, and I'll give a little jab here to those men, is that they do this because it's the closest they can get to a woman paying attention to them. So they parrot and pander to what they think women might want to hear, whereas other men don't have to do that in order to get a woman's attention. But that's not the topic here today. And that's one side of it, is all female empowerment. We do what we want, et cetera, et cetera. Then the flip side of it, here's the duality. To borrow a word from Kamala Harris. Remember she kept saying duality in her campaign? So the other side of duality is that, this is the other hand, as soon as a woman finds herself in a dire position, or it appears that a woman is in a dire position, or in a position that feminists do not agree with, such as Kanye West coming to the show and his wife is not wearing anything. Well, she had on a coat, actually. She had on this big black fur coat, but then she got the coat down and showed off all of her assets. So when they see a woman in a position that doesn't look good by their judgment, the feminists, they don't think it looks good what the woman is doing, or they think the woman is making a mistake or doing something wrong, or things just didn't go the way that the feminists believe they should go for the woman in question, or for women, period. What do you hear from feminists when that happens? Everybody who's listening to me, I'm asking you this in the comments. What do you hear from feminists? The same people who say, it's girl boss, woman power, it's time for the matriarchy, men need to step aside. They say that on one hand, but then as soon as they see a woman in a situation that is not ideal, or a woman losing in some way, shape, or form, what do they usually say? What do you usually hear when something like that happens? And what happens is, I'll answer the question. I'm waiting for you all's comments, but the answer is they start blaming men. This is what happens. They start blaming men for the situation. And this is what I saw with the Kanye and his wife situation, is that I saw most of the comments, because the Grammy Awards was what, like Sunday night? I'm recording this on a Wednesday. So the Grammy Awards was Sunday night. And then on Monday, I saw all the posts like, oh, Kanye West came to the award show and his wife didn't have any clothes on. And everybody started piling on and saying, well, everybody was just piling on Kanye. Well, Kanye is, what they say, he's mentally abusive. He is controlling this woman. They said you can see it in her eyes that she's afraid. Nonsense. The people are reading things that aren't there. They say, well, you could tell by the way he was talking to her, because you couldn't hear what he was saying, but you could see him speaking. You could tell by the way he was talking to her that he's controlling her and she doesn't have a voice of her own, and she's afraid of Kanye, and he's just mentally abusive, and there's a whole bunch of things wrong with Kanye. This became a referendum on what is wrong with Kanye West. When he showed up to the show with his wife and she didn't have any clothes on, it all of a sudden became a referendum on Kanye and how he's a terrible person. So the conversation that we're having here today is, how is that? How do we reconcile this very convenient feminist duality? That's my question. So Pippi over on TikTok says she didn't look happy about taking the covering off. Again, you can't read things through a 5-second clip that says how another person is feeling. That's nonsense. It's a projection is what it is. Like, you don't know how that person is feeling. You can't tell another person how they're feeling. You can't tell them, well, they must be feeling this because of the look on their faces. Like, what are y'all talking about? I'm not even saying you, Pippi, personally, but that's nonsense. And this is often what women do, especially feminists, is they try to emotionalize the argument so that no logical conversation can be had. Because Kanye West's wife, according to what I read, she is an educated person who has a college degree or two. She had a professional career before she ran into Kanye West. She seems to be a person who has her shit together generally as a grown adult who happens to be female. So she is supposed to be, according to the way you hear feminists talk about it, a person who has their shit together, makes their own decisions, and does what they want to do. So my question is not about Kanye West. My question is, why didn't I hear any feminists saying anything to hold the woman accountable? Why is everybody immediately defaulted to talking about Kanye? Kanye didn't show up with no clothes on. His wife showed up with no clothes on. So how is it all of a sudden we assume, because she has no clothes on, that he's the one in control of that situation? But if she showed up dressed in, let's say, a tasteful or modest way, and she was doing whatever it is that she did or said whatever it is that she said, I haven't heard her talk much. If she showed up dressed modestly, people would say, oh, look at that girl boss Bianca doing her thing. And it's the same thing they say about Beyonce, right? They would say that about her. if she showed up dressed modestly. But since people have a problem with the way she showed up, all of a sudden it becomes, oh, it must be the man's fault. But to see, if she was doing something that you liked, you would say, well, that's all the praise goes to the woman. But as soon as things go wrong, the problem is the man. This is the duality of feminism. Same thing that happened with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris came in, and after Joe Biden got his nomination removed from him, we know Kamala took over and she had like 100 days to run the campaign, right? And this doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on, if you're even on the side at all. She had about 100 days to do her campaign. And when she had a lot of momentum, which was throughout, especially the early couple weeks of the campaign, she had a lot of momentum, right? It looked like she was, well, of course, she had the, excuse me, she had the bump of being a new person. Everybody was all excited. It might be the first black woman president, et cetera, et cetera. If Kamala's black, it's a whole different conversation. Did a whole live stream on that months ago. So anyway, people are all excited about Kamala. Look at all the attention she's getting. Look at all the momentum she has, et cetera, et cetera. And social media was all praising her and everything she said and everything that she did and defending her if people decided to attack her, right? That was happening with Kamala. And people were saying she's going to win, she's going to win, she's going to win. Then November 5th happens and she loses, right? As soon as Kamala Harris lost the election, what did the conversation turn into for people who are defending her, especially the feminists? The conversation turned into, oh, the only reason Kamala lost is because of, number one, racism, number two, misogyny. That's the conclusion that a lot of Kamala fans / Trump haters / lifelong Democrats came to. The only way Kamala could have lost this election is because people are racist or people just hate women. It can't be anything else. It can't have anything to do with Kamala herself. It can't have anything to do with her ability to get a point across. It can't have anything to do with people judging her ability to lead or not lead. Can't have anything to do with the quality of her campaign. Can't have anything to do with the fact that people are tired of what the Democrats did for the last 4 years in an administration that she was a part of, number two in that administration. It can't have anything to do with the fact that people actually like Donald Trump. Can't have anything to do with any of those things. It must be people are racist or misogynist. That's the only reason the woman could come up short. That's bullshit. And this is what people do. And I'm using feminism as the frame here, but this is generally what people do when they're emotional. When people are more into their emotions than their logic, they come up with some emotional explanation for anything that they don't like, because then you can hide behind your emotions and say, well, this is the way that I feel, therefore you can't challenge it. Because see, if I tell you this is what I think, you can challenge it. You can challenge what I think. If I tell you what I think, you can challenge it. We can go back and forth and debate. But if I tell you it's how I feel, and then you say something against what I feel, then I say, well, you're just invalidating my feelings. See, any of you men had a conversation with a woman, ever done this? How do I know about it? See, this is what feminists do. And also feminine energy men, they do the same thing. They use their feelings and their emotions as a shield for a flawed logical argument, a logically flawed argument. Oh, so the only reason Kamala lost is because people hate women. Oh, why can't it be people just don't trust that Kamala would be a good leader? Can't that be possible? Oh, they only voted for her because they're racist. They want to vote for the white guy. If you're black, you didn't vote for Kamala. It's only because you're too dumb to realize that you're voting for your own demise and you're going to be a slave again. All right, isn't this what you heard people saying? Some of you are guilty of saying this. And this is the same thing that happens with feminism. This is the same thing that happens with feminism, is that as soon as Bianca is presenting herself in a way that some women object to, instead of saying, hey, Bianca, put some clothes on. Hey, Bianca, check yourself. Everybody went to the convenient target of, well, it must be Kanye. He's the reason that I don't like what Bianca's doing, but let me blame Kanye for it. What happened to her and her holding her accountable for her own actions? I mean, she's the one who put that sheer dress on, knowing there was nothing underneath it, put that coat on, and she's the one who dropped the coat. Now, some people always say, well, Kanye's controlling her. Well, how do you know? Again, how is it so convenient? This is the convenient duality of feminism. It's very easy to say she's the boss when she's doing stuff that you like, and as soon as she's doing something you don't like, you can blame the man. This is an extremely convenient tool that feminists use. Again, I gave you Kamala Harris as an example of this. This is exactly what it is. So all of a sudden she ain't a girl boss anymore. She's a victim of a man. But she was doing something you like. She was a girl boss. So Kanye West not having any clothes on. What happened to the agency? What happened to accountability? And what happened to ownership of a woman being a boss? What happened? This is an open question that I'm asking. I'll get to comments later on. So as I said, every time that I see, this is my next point, whenever I see Kanye out with his wife, and I don't even follow celebrity news, but whenever a picture comes out of Kanye and his wife, y'all let me know what y'all see. She's always dressed like that. So I'm not saying that means Kanye couldn't possibly be making the decisions. I'm not saying that's possible. I'm not saying that's impossible that Kanye couldn't be making all the decisions. What I'm saying is, if you believe, any of you who's a feminist, and you believe that women have agency, and women can make their own decisions, and women can think for themselves, and women choose their own actions, if you believe that to be true, then if you see that woman doing something that you don't like, the first person you check is not the man, you check the woman. because she has agency to make her own choices, right? So you can't play both sides of the fence. All right, if you're, as the saying goes, everybody wants to be a beast, so it's time to do what beasts do. See, if you're a leader and you're a boss, you're the boss all the time. You're not the boss just when things are going good, and then when things are going bad, you blame the staff. That's not how it works. And this is the reason why the patriarchy even exists, because men understand this in their bones. I don't have to explain this to men. Sometimes you got to remind men of it, but you have to explain this to women, and women will continually reject it no matter what I say. There are some women listening to me right now, just in your mind, you are formulating ways to reject what I'm saying because it's a little bit too logical, and I understand you. I'm not mad at you for it, and I'm not even making you out to be a bad person for it. You're a woman, I'm a man, we have different ways of thinking. We're wired differently. Men understand logic, and we appreciate logic. I'm not saying a woman can't be logical. I'm also not saying that a man can't have emotions and that they don't. Of course they do. What I'm saying is men tend to lean more logical. That's why I'm making this very logical argument. There's no emotion in this. I don't hate Kanye. I don't love Kanye. I'm just objectively observing what happened and giving you a clearly laid out argument. You don't have to agree with it, but you can't say you don't understand what I'm saying. And what happens with feminists and feminine energy men is that when they hear something that logically cannot be refuted, they default to their emotions as a way to shield themselves from the logic that they cannot push back on. And this happens in everyday conversation. We're using Kanye as an example here. So every time I see Kanye and his wife out, y'all let me know if y'all see anything different. They always look like that. Kanye's always dressed like covering everything up because his body ain't in that great of a shape. Maybe he's just like sweatsuits, whatever. She's always got everything out. And you see anything different? So how is it, let me ask, is it possible that this is just how she likes to dress? Is that possible? I mean, whenever I see Kim Kardashian, Kanye's ex-wife, she's showing off her figure in some way, shape, or form. Is this true? Is it true that Kim Kardashian, usually when you see her, she's showing off her figure in some way? I can't remember seeing too many pictures of Kim Kardashian in a baggy sweatsuit that covers up her number one asset, which is her body. Her number one asset is her body. That's not even a diss. All of you can agree. Kim Kardashian is Kim Kardashian because of her body and how she has leveraged her assets in order to draw attention. She would probably tell you that herself if you asked her, I think. So, when Kim Kardashian was out showing off her figure all the time, not the same way that Kanye's current wife does, but she's often showing off her figure. But she's a boss, right? Because she's a billionaire or whatever she's supposed to be, and she has all these companies. She's doing this and that, and I think she got a law degree or something like that, whatever she's doing. She's a girl boss, right? She's a boss, and she's a matriarch because she's doing all these positive things that you like. But if she was to have her ass out while walking next to Kanye, it has to be Kanye who forced her to do it. Again, I'm trying to understand this duality. You can't have it both ways if you're thinking logically. You can when you're thinking emotionally. You can't do it when you're thinking logically. So my question is, are you thinking logically or emotionally? So anytime I've seen them on social media, as I just said, this seems to be her style. What's wrong with that? I mean, a woman's supposed to have the freedom to do what she wants, right? Isn't that what they called it? A woman's right to choose? Isn't that what it's called? Somebody fact check me on that. Isn't that what it's called? A woman's right to choose? So, does that woman, Kanye's wife, does she have a right to choose how she dresses? And again, if you don't know Kanye and you don't know what's happening behind closed doors in that relationship, how can we immediately default to it must be Kanye's call the way she is dressing if you believe in feminism and you believe women have the power to make their own choices? See, you can't have it both ways. It's impossible. It's impossible to have it both ways. Which one is it? She has the agency to make her own decisions, or is she being controlled by a man? Because if she's being controlled by a man, and a man can just determine what she wears every single day of the week, then there's no argument for the matriarchy. Because a woman doesn't have any agency, she can't even make her own decisions. So how are we gonna have a matriarchy? A woman can't decide for herself how she's gonna be in a leadership position. That's not possible. You can't put a person in a leadership position who's not capable of making their own decisions. So if Bianca's not capable of making her decisions about what she's putting on her body or not putting on her body, then that is a strong argument against any concept of the matriarchy. Because a woman's dependent on a man to decide how to dress. That's what it sounds like to me. Again, if I got it wrong, somebody let me know. Or on the other hand, if a woman does have the agency and she can make her own decisions, then okay. That's a strong argument for the matriarchy. I'm not in agreement with the matriarchy, but it's a good argument if you say that. But you got to take ownership all the time, not just when it's convenient. And that's the issue. See, Kamala Harris was a boss when she was in the campaign. As soon as she lost, all of a sudden, no, she ain't a boss anymore. All of a sudden, she ain't a boss anymore. And speaking of Kamala, let me remind you all of something. The night of November 5th, when it was clear that she had lost, I don't know if all you remember this, Kamala was having an event, what was supposed to be a celebration event at, what school did she go to? Was it Howard? Was it Howard that Kamala Harris went to? Was that the HBCU she attended? I believe it was Howard. and I think Howard's in DC, right? Was it Howard University? Somebody let me know what it was. So anyway, wherever that event was at, it was at the college that she went to. And she would always talk about that. She went to that school and HBCU that proves that she's black, etc. And when it was clear, yeah, so Howard and Harvard, yeah, it definitely wasn't Harvard. It was Howard because I saw the videos, a bunch of black people. So when it was clear that she had lost, y'all remember this? That night, there were a whole bunch of people standing out in the yard in front of a big stage that was supposed to be where she would show up and say, hey, look, hey, everybody, I won, and have celebrations and all that. And everybody came out to support her. But when it was clear that she had lost, y'all remember what happened? Kamala didn't even come up on the stage to address her fans who came to that event to support her. She didn't even come out and speak to them. What happened that night when it was clear that Kamala had lost? Anybody know what happened? Anybody remember what happened? Someone said she's a Harvard law grad. Yes, but the event was at Howard. It wasn't at Harvard. It was at Howard, the HBCU, which I believe is in Washington, D.C. Do y'all remember what happened the night of November 5th when it was clear that Kamala had lost? She didn't come out and speak to the audience. Do you know what happened? What happened was a man came out and spoke to the audience and said, he basically told them that Kamala lost. Donald Trump has won. She's already called Donald Trump and conceded the election. And Kamala's not going to be speaking tonight. And then he turned around and walked away, and all the fans went home. And this is a great example of what I'm talking about here. Because when things were going great, and had she won that night, anybody want to say that Kamala Harris would have not stood on stage that night and spoke to her audience? Had she won, had she beaten Donald Trump on November 5th, do you think she would have stepped up on the stage and talked to her fans? How many of you think she would not have? Everybody knows if she had won, she would have got up on the stage and addressed her fans because she won. She's all high and mighty. She won. She defeated Donald Trump. Everybody's all excited. She feels good. She can look great. She can look like this boss. She literally became the boss of America by winning the presidency. She would have got up on the stage and talked. But as soon as it didn't go well and she lost, she couldn't stand up there and say, you know what? I took an L. I lost. Thank you for coming out and supporting me. Again, she left her own fans high and dry. And then like she wasn't showing up for a bunch of MAGA supporters. These were her fans. Her fans showed up to support her. And when it was clear that she lost, she couldn't even show her face to her own fan base. This is a strong argument against the matriarchy because this is how, again, I'm generalizing here. This is how women behave. When things are going good, oh, I'll soak it all up. I'm a boss. Everybody bow at my feet. But as soon as things are going bad, oh, let me go send a man to speak for me. Let me go send a man to speak. Let me send a man to defend me because things ain't going good. Are you a boss or are you not? Again, if you're a boss, you got to be a boss all day. Not just when things go bad. Everybody understand this? See, if you're a boss when the money is coming in, you got to be a boss when the invoices get paid. See, that's the issue. This is the reason why we should not have a matriarchy in America. And again, I'm giving you some examples here that frame exactly what I'm saying. So, let's move on. Maybe it's true that Kanye likes his women to dress a certain way for his own personal taste. That's what some people say. Kanye just likes to objectify women, and he likes to have them having no clothes on, etc. And I'm going to answer questions at the end, by the way. So he likes to have women having no clothes on and showing off their body all the time, and that's just his thing. I would generally agree it seems like it's his thing because that's his woman. He could easily drop her and get a different woman if he wanted to. So since he's with her and she's dressing like that, it appears that he's okay with it. I think we can agree with that. Seems that he's okay with it. And that's his personal taste. At the same time, let's be clear. How many of you women out there who listen to this, put a yes or a no in the chat. If you met Kanye and he said, I want you to dress the way Bianca's dressing, you would say, what would you say? Yes or no? If you met Kanye West and he said, we're going to date. Let's just say you were dating Kanye West. I'm not asking if he's your cup of tea or not, if you would actually date him. I'm saying if you are a woman listening to this and you were dating Kanye and he said, I want you to dress the way that you see Bianca dressing all the time, would you do it? Yes or no? Okay, so a bunch of women are saying no. I haven't seen a single woman say yes. Everybody's saying no. You wouldn't do it regardless of who he is, right? Regardless of who he is and regardless of what he thinks, you would not do it because you have your own agency. You make your own decisions. So, again, what I'm saying here then with Kanye is it's not that Kanye is forcing women to do this because I didn't see him physically force her to do anything. It doesn't mean he couldn't be mentally doing something behind closed doors. I mean, we all saw the R. Kelly story, but we can't just assert that. Again, innocent until proven guilty. You got to prove that he's doing it. You can't just say, well, you can't prove that he's not. No, it's not the way it works in America. Innocent until proven guilty. You accuse somebody of something, you got to prove it. What I believe, which is obvious to see, here's my theory, is that Kanye has a radar for finding women who are open to dressing like that. I don't believe he's making women dress like that. Again, all of you ladies who are in here, all of you who said, no, hell no, I wouldn't dress like that, regardless of what Kanye said. See, you're not on his radar because he wouldn't date you because you wouldn't do that. So he's not even going to approach you because he can tell you ain't that type. But I think Kanye is really good at sussing out the type of women who would do it. That doesn't make him bad and it doesn't make the women bad. Again, I thought it was free to do what you want to do. I thought it was a woman's right to choose. If a woman wants to have her ass out every time you see her, okay, that's her choice, right? Ain't that the game we're playing right now? So again, how much ownership does a woman get for this? She wants to have her ass out. She got her ass out. What you mad at? What you mad at? Moving on. Does this woman, Bianca, this is Kanye's wife, does she have true autonomy? That is a question. Fact of the matter is we don't know. Now, we don't know if she has true autonomy. We don't know their relationship. I haven't heard Kanye say anything in a long time. I've hardly ever heard her speak, and I never heard either of them speak about their relationships. So, and I don't see Kanye doing interviews, again, ever since he got canceled for what he said about the J people. So while we can all speculate, if we are going to default to the man is controlling everything, but seems to be it, then that's a strong point for the patriarchy, right? That's a strong point for the patriarchy. How is this a strong point for the patriarchy? Because some of you may say, no, it's not a strong point because you don't like it. Well, here's the issue. If you bring a woman in the room who has no qualifications to be a professional and do her thing, again, this woman is allegedly educated, has degrees, et cetera, et cetera. She's a professional. Or she just happens to be a model and have a nice body, but she's still a professional. So if you bring a qualified professional woman in the room, and then you bring a qualified professional man in the room, and they're together, and the man always dominates, how can we have a matriarchy? I ask you this question. How can we have a matriarchy if when you bring a qualified woman and a qualified man together, the man always ends up dominating? How can we have a matriarchy? That doesn't make any sense. How are we going to put women in charge when a woman couldn't even take charge when she's in a room with a man? If this is your argument for Bianca, she's doing what she's doing because of Kanye, that means she has no agency. It means she ain't a leader. It means she's not qualified to lead. And if you're a feminist, that's going against the grain of the very thing you're supposed to be supporting. That women can be bosses. It's time for women to take over. See, here's the thing. Or it's time to let women lead. That's not a thing. There's no such thing as letting someone lead, just in case any of you didn't know. That's an oxymoron. Leadership is not handed out. Leadership is taken. If you're going to lead something, you have to take the lead. Any of you ever watched National Geographic and they have like the lions and a male lion is dominating the lion's pride and all the women go out and they basically defer to him. If another man comes to the pride and he wants to be in charge of the pride, what's he got to do? He got to fight the man who's running it. And if he beats him, he takes over and the women fall in line. Is that true or not? Of course it's true. If he beats the man who's running it now, he takes over and then he kills all the previous male lion's kids so that they can't rise up and be his enemies in the future. They can't be his competition. And then what does he do? He has sex with all the female lions. He has his own kids. And then the cycle just continues. That's the way it works. But you notice in this whole process, the female lions, what do? They fall in line. They fall in line. All right. That's how it works in the animal kingdom. And generally, if you look around, that's how it works in the human kingdom. The only reason feminism even became a thing is because after the patriarchy built society and made it extremely safe and palatable for everybody to live and pretty much do what you want to do, all of a sudden people said, okay, and not just women, but also men. They said, all right, how about we let women be in charge now too? Because everything is so safe and designed already, and there's no real danger in putting a woman in charge. There's no danger in trying to be in charge. All right, now we can let women be in charge. But see, when it was dangerous, no women were volunteering for the job. You don't see any women yelling about, hey, I want a job doing construction on a 50-floor high-rise building. Not saying that there aren't any, but you don't see women arguing for that. You only see women arguing for positions like, let me be the CEO, let me be the president. These white-collar jobs where there is no inherent danger in you being in charge, because if you get into inherent danger, who are you going to call? Man, to defend you. Again, if I got something wrong, somebody let me know. So the people who are okay with the matriarchy, the only reason you can reconcile a woman being in charge is because the woman knows that if there's ever a real problem, she will call on a man or men to defend her, because she can't defend herself, period. So some women may argue that because Bianca, Kanye's wife, doesn't talk much or do interviews, that she must be being controlled. And again, I'm going to counter by saying that not all women want their business in the street. All right, some of you listening to this, you don't put your business in the street. People don't even know what your kids look like. You're not telling them what you're doing. You're not telling them where you're at. You're not tagging your location every time you go on vacation. Not everybody lives like that. So if that's the way you live, you can't project that onto somebody else. Maybe she just don't want to talk to the public. Maybe she just don't want people in her business. Aside from showing her body off, she just wants to be that y'all talk about her like I'm doing right now, but she isn't talking back. That's some people's strategy. Right, just let you talk about me, I ain't gonna say nothing. We can't assume there's anything other than what we factually know. And again, this is all the convenience of feminism. When a woman is winning, it's all about the woman. When a woman is losing, it's the fault of the man, or the fault of men, or the fault of the patriarchy. All right, this is exactly why women are not fit to lead a society. Women are not fit to lead a society for this very reason that I'm breaking down. Again, this is not, you want to call it misogyny or I hate women. No, absolutely not. Again, I've logically built these pieces. I logically put all the pieces together. If you logically have a pushback to what I'm saying, when I get to the comments, I'm interested to hear what it is. But I remember when I was in college, for example, I'll give you an example. There's a woman that I was dating dating, quote unquote, in college. And we were both, my hometown is Philadelphia, PA. I live in Miami, Florida, but my hometown is Philadelphia, PA. So at this time, I'm home for the summer in Philly. And she was home for the summer in Philly. And we connected, and she's like, come to my house, et cetera, et cetera. So I go to her house, and she was wearing this kind of athleisure gear that's common now. This was years ago. She was wearing this athleisure gear, and it was form-fitting to her body. It was like a sport bra kind of, and some shorts that were also form-fitting to her body. And this woman she was blessed with very nice assets. Let's just say that. And she was taking summer classes at a local college campus, and she would take public transportation to go to school and come back. And when I went to see her that day, she was like, when I was out today, she was just venting to me. She said, when I was out today, I had all kinds of men all in my face and catcalling me and approaching me and all this stuff and saying rude things to me, probably because of what I was wearing today. And she said, my aunt, because she was staying at her aunt's house, she was like, my aunt said to me, hey, young lady, maybe you shouldn't dress like that. And her retort was, and I said, what did you say to your aunt when she said that? And she said to me, well, I can dress however I want. Okay, fine. You can dress however you want. Yes, you can. Go ahead. Dress however you want. And I'm completely okay with this. And these days, this is normal. We know. Y'all see OnlyFans. Y'all see Instagram. Women can wear whatever they want. They can show off whatever they want on the internet and out in person. All of us agree with this, right? So if the whole thing is a woman can do what she wants to do, then same thing applies to Kanye's wife. She wants to put her ass out. She can put her ass out. She wants to put her nipples out. She can put her nipples out. All right, what's the problem? 2 more points. If a woman wants to walk around like that, again, that's her right. Who are you to question a woman's right to choose? Feminists, that's my question to you. Who are you to question a woman's right to choose? Because unless we have any other information, which we don't, you cannot assume that Kanye's making her do anything. We can only go off of what we know. What we know is that's the way that she dresses. How can we assume, though, he must be abusing her? Yeah, very convenient. Again, this is the duality of feminism. Very convenient. When you like it, it's empowering for the woman, and when you don't, that must mean the man's doing something wrong. Can anybody make that make sense? I'm sure some of you are trying. You're going to fail, but we'll get to it in a moment. I believe, this is my last point, it is actually anti-feminist to criticize the way that Kanye's wife dresses. It's anti-feminist because she's a woman. She has the right to choose, and if she wants to express herself through her body, same way that some women express themselves through stripping, some women do it through OnlyFans, some women do it through soft porn on the internet, some women do it through the way they walk around every day in real life. If that's the way she chooses to express herself, who are you to question a woman's right to choose? Who are you to invalidate a woman by saying the only reason you're doing that is because a man's making you do it? That's very invalidating to a woman, I would think. Any women in here want to tell me I got that right or wrong? If I'm a woman and I believe in feminism, I would be very offended if you as a woman walked up to me and said, you're doing something that I don't like, fellow woman. It's obvious that a man's making you do it. I'd be like, bitch, who are you to tell me what I'm doing? And who are you to tell me that a man's making me do something? This is what I want to do. Get the hell out of my face. So you feminists out there, again, who are you to invalidate another woman's choices just because you don't like them? All right, you're out of line. Again, if I got it wrong, somebody let me know. I'm going to get to the comments in 1 minute. So let's go over to... I'm going over to YouTube. They say the YouTube signal is buffering. I don't know what's happening over on YouTube here today, but a replay will be up. Rumble, X. I didn't see Facebook. Didn't see LinkedIn. I usually don't see comments on LinkedIn if there are any. So let's see what we got over on TikTok. So if you got something, go ahead and post it. Let's get to the comments over on TikTok. I'm going to scroll through and see what any of you has to say. Melissa said, you can see who's controlling who. You just have to pay attention. No, that's called mind reading, Melissa. You don't have the ability to read another person's mind. Who's controlling who? Who is it and how do you know? This is called mind reading. Is also a form of projection. That you're assuming that because, again, the woman is doing something that you may object to, that it can't be possible that she decided to do that on her own. And this is the reason this often happens with people is because you couldn't see yourself thinking that way, so it's impossible for her to think that way. That's nonsense. That's a logical fallacy. So maybe nobody's controlling anyone. Maybe they both are independent adults who think for themselves. Why does she have to be being controlled? Again, that's very invalidating to a woman. Tell her she's being controlled. And if you know she's being controlled, what's your proof? Oh, because you looked at the 30-second video and said, oh, the way Kanye said this, and look in her eyes, and you're the body language expert. Oh, she must be feeling fearful because she looked like that, and if she looked like this, she'd be happy. And no, bullshit. You can't tell another person how they feel. That's a mind-reading fallacy. Ty said, did you watch their debate? Whose debate? You talking about Trump and Kamala? Yes, I did. Burb Newhart said, host is pure emotion, projecting all day long. Yeah, right. Jeannie Croft says, some people get the data. What data are you talking about? Deron Slater said, you're telling the truth, bro. I know I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the objective truth based on what we know. Again, there's no way you can draw any other conclusion based on the information that we have. Until she comes out of her mouth and says something different, then that's all we can go off of. Or he comes out of his mouth and says it. JJ201, appreciate it. Darren said they expect less of black. That is the left for you, blacks for Trump. Okay, not a topic here today, but I get it. Melissa Rose said exactly. Thank you. Stars Craft, good morning. Jeannie Croft said, it's called speculation and you don't know the answer. Exactly, which means we have to go off of what we know. We can't draw conclusions from something that we have no information on. We can only go off of what we objectively can see, which is she is an adult and she can make her own choices. Until we know different, that's all we can go off of. We cannot assume she's not making her own choices unless you have proof that she's not. Again, innocent until proven guilty. If she's being controlled and abused mentally by a man, you have to prove that. You can't just throw it out there and say, oh, well, I think she's being mentally abused, so that's the position we're going to hold on to until somebody disproves it. All right, that's incorrect. That's not the way it works. It's not trying to prove a negative. That's not the way it works in America. It's not the way it works in logic. If you accuse somebody of something, you must prove it. It's not the other person's job to disprove your accusation. It's your job to prove the accusation. That's why, again, in court, it is innocent until proven guilty. If you can't prove that Kanye is abusing her, then we can't draw that assertion and we can't go off of that as if it's true. It's not true. Stars Craft says she walked out like that and he let her. They both wrong. What do you mean he let her? Again, are you a feminist or not? How is he? What did he do? Kanye didn't do anything. He just walked out and stood there and let her get her shine. What did he do? Kanye didn't do anything. He just stood there. How is this? No, it's not equal. Again, this is another thing that feminists do. When the woman is clearly in the wrong, she tries to make it, oh, well, both of us need to do something. Bullshit. Not both of us. You did it. And women don't like being talked to like this. Trust me, I know. But this is the reality. When a woman is caught in the wrong, first thing she does is try to rope the man into it. Well, both of us need to fix something. Bullshit. You did what you did. How are you putting it on me? This is not a shit. Don't try to share responsibility. No, sir. No, ma'am. Melissa said, you're spot on. Thank you. Todd said, you're not the one that judges. There's only one judge, and it's not you. Yeah, well, I'm not judging. I'm just going off what I objectively can see. I'm not coming to any judgment conclusion. Miss Know-It-All said, too logical. Yes, I explained it. Darren said, it's like the 30th time she has done it. Yeah, probably more than that. I ain't see all the pictures. Miss Know-It-All said, Kanye is Kanye. Yes, he is. That has nothing to do with a woman's right to choose. She's an independent thinker. JJ said, Kim has come out and said Kanye would dress her when they were together. Yes, I've heard her talk about that he stepped her fashion game up. That's not the same as him mentally controlling her. Those are two different things. He would dress her because Kanye is a fashion guy. I mean, I think we can agree Kanye is very successful in the fashion space. He created his own brand. He has all these models, and he's become a very successful person in the fashion space. So allowing Kanye to pick out your clothes is not the same as he's mentally abusing you just because of what you're wearing. Those are not the same thing. Miss Know-It-All said they do what they want. Yes, exactly. Again, if you believe in feminism, then you can't assume that a woman is being controlled by a man. You have to assume she's doing what she wants to do. Jeannie said, I think not at events like that where kids are watching those public TV events. Well, I agree with you, Jeannie, personally. At the same time, look at where our society's at. Look at Instagram. Look at social media. Look at OnlyFans. Depending on where you live, look at the way females are walking around the streets. This has become acceptable that people can walk around and it's soft porn, especially the internet. Soft porn is accepted on the internet. That's what it is. It used to be that you had to hide that behind on the dark web, so to speak, in places you have to go looking to find it. Nowadays, you ain't got to do nothing. Just get on social media. It's right there. Those of you who use TikTok, I don't scroll on TikTok. Sometimes I open the app to do a post, and the first thing I see is some girl. She's putting her camera down. The music is playing. She immediately turns around and starts showing off her ass. All right, that's acceptable nowadays. So again, who are you to judge? If that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. I don't think women should be out at events like that. But again, who am I to question a woman's right to choose? I'm being facetious there, but this is what it is. StarCraft said, it's indecent exposure. She doesn't have agency to break the law. Well, I ain't seen any cops. I ain't see her get arrested. I believe that law has been relaxed, StarCrafts. And police are allowed to exercise judgment as to when they want to enforce a law or not. Same way that if you're speeding and you are technically speeding, the cop has the radar, they can decide to chase you down and give you a ticket, they can decide to let you go. So technically you might be right, but it's not really a crime unless you get charged with one. FI Doorman said, whoever is deciding, need to decide to put some clothes on. Some people's children, man. Well, whoever's deciding got to be the woman if you believe in feminism. Ms. Know-it-all said, in some states it will be against the law. Yes, but it depends on if the cop wants to enforce it or not. Obviously, they're at the Grammys. There's cops there. Now, why didn't anybody arrest her? Because this is accepted. So police have discretion of whether or not they want to enforce it. Any of you ever was about to get a parking ticket and then you came up to the cop and talked to him and they let you go? All right, so cops have discretion. They don't have to. It's not by the book. It's not by the letter. Yes, accountability. Mallory said, how would you feel? You talking about Kamala? I would feel disappointed if I ran for president and lost. But I would still show up and show face to my fans who came out to support me and say, hey, beat me fair and square. Thank you for coming out and supporting me. Now, y'all go home. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. That's what you're supposed to do. When you lose, you still show up. You don't lose and then not show up for your own fans. That's disrespectful to your fans. So, again, this is exactly what Mallory Coleman's comment is exactly my point. How would you feel is what she said. It doesn't matter how you feel. Your responsibility is to your fans who came to support you. You lost. You show up and you speak to them. If you had won, you would have shown up, right? Okay, so fuck how you feel. Do your job. Your job is to show up for your fans and say, thank you for supporting me, whether I won or I lost. It's like a boxer. A boxer loses a fight. They can't not show up to the post-fight press conference and say, oh, I don't want to talk because I feel bad because I lost. No, you still got to show up and talk about it. That's the trade-off of putting yourself in a position where you might lose. The trade-off of trying to win big is that you might lose big. And when you lose big, you can't just not show up and not say anything and just disappear and fade away like that Homer Simpson meme fading into the bushes. And I think I saw somebody say, well, look what Trump did when he didn't win in 2020. Well, the thing is, Trump didn't fade away into the bushes in 2020, did he? He didn't fade away into the bushes. He said, I think this happened. So we can't, it's not the same thing. He showed up. Donald Trump showed up. Y'all remember January 6th, right? All right. But that wasn't somebody else giving that speech. That was him. When Donald Trump felt like things didn't go the way he wanted it to go, he spoke up and he defended himself and he told his audience, here's what I think, and he mobilized them to do what he wanted them to do. He has a right to that. Peaceful protest is allowed under the Constitution. Melissa said, I agree, people need to be held accountable for their actions. Yes, not people, women. Good morning, Brittany, good to see you here. Not people, whoever made that comment. It's not people, it's women. And this is exactly what I mean. When people say, when a woman is held accountable, one of the first things a woman does is say, oh, well, we need to be held accountable. We need to fix things. It's us. No, it's not us. It's you. It's not us. It's you. Don't try to rope me into sharing the responsibility. No, you made a choice. You got to hold it. That's how it actually works. Brian Diggs and Ditches. What's going on, Brian? Miss Know-it-all said, doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Well, in the grand scheme, hardly anything matters. But we're talking about it because it's current events. I'm on Jen time. Said, are you freaking kidding me? You have a pushback to something I said, Jen? Let's hear what it is. Messiah, well, I already answered that thing about Trump. He showed up. Yes, and exactly who said that? Melissa Rose answered the same thing I just said. When Trump lost, or it was told to him that he lost, he showed up. He didn't disappear. He showed up and said, hey, I don't think this was done on the up and up. This looked tricky. This looked fishy. Isn't that what he did? Again, I'm not asking if you agree with it, but you can't say he didn't show up. Kamala didn't show up when she lost. And she didn't have a challenge. She didn't say she didn't lose. She said, I did lose, but I'm just not going to show up for my fans. Donald Trump never did that. He showed up a lot for his fans when it was announced that he had lost. He showed up a ton, maybe more than people wanted him to show up. Messiah said he literally didn't come out. Well, he came out a lot. Nobody can say he didn't come out. You got to be kidding me. Every day he was telling you what he was going to do and how he felt about it. He didn't disappear. Kamala disappeared. Jen said, oh, you deserve Trump and what he has in store for y'all. It's so funny when people say this. Donald Trump's the president of all of America. Just because if you didn't vote for him, that doesn't mean you are not going to be subject to the same thing the people who did vote for him are subject to. That doesn't make any sense. Logically, that makes no sense. They're like, oh, you voted for Trump, you're going to get all the stuff you deserve. Mofo, you live in America, don't you? Okay, you're going to get the same thing. But you think just because you didn't vote for him, it doesn't apply to you? That's not the way it works. It's not like Trump says, all right, everybody who voted for me, here are your new taxes, and if you voted for Kamala, here's your taxes. It doesn't work that way. This is majority rules. The majority ruled electorally. The majority ruled that he's in charge. So you are subject to the same thing everybody else is subject to. So this whole point is you deserve Trump and everything he has in store for you is a logical fallacy. It's a childish emotional argument, which logically makes no sense. If you live in America, you get the same thing everybody else gets, whether you're a MAGA or not. Starcraft said, we love Trump, can't wait for the changes he's making. Well, he's already making some right now. Jessica said, not enough money and nobody wants to see all this. All right, fair enough. Kat said, no, but I wouldn't ever be in a position to date him. Well, you never know. What if he approached you? What would you say? A-Ray said she would feel uncomfortable. Who's she? Who are you talking about? Know-it-all said, if you're as logical as you say, you should know that all does not apply in most cases. I never said that it did. I've given disclaimers many times. I'm not saying all women are like this. I'm not saying all men are like that. I've given that disclaimer multiple times. At the same time, you understand that when I'm speaking in broad terms, you have to use generalities. It's like if I said college graduates who go into the professional world tend to make more money than non-college graduates. That doesn't mean that there's someone who didn't graduate from college who can't make more money than someone who did. But is the general point still true? Yes, it is. So again, this is a feminist talking point. Well, you're saying all. I'm not saying all. You get what I'm doing. Even if I didn't give that disclaimer, you understand what I'm saying. If I say a Ferrari is faster than a Honda Civic, that doesn't mean somebody in a Honda Civic couldn't possibly beat a Ferrari in a race. But is the general point still true? Of course it is. Jen said, this is some misogynistic BS. What did I get wrong, Jen? I'm waiting for you to logically tell me what I got wrong. Moon Kitty said, I think he is by the look in her eyes. So you can tell me what another person is thinking and feeling by you looking in their eyes. How do you know? How do you know another person is feeling by the look in their eyes in a 30-second video? Please explain to me, Moon Kitty, how you develop this skill, because I would like to learn it myself. If it's actually an accurate skill. You absolutely know what another person is thinking by looking in their eyes. Little Bo Peep said they would if Kanye wanted them to. Well, it depends on who they is. There's a bunch of women here said they would not. Maria said, I agree. She wants attention as much as him. Yes, we have to assume that until we know anything different. She knows what she was wearing. She knows that people are looking at it. She knows that, right? So how is it on Kanye? Choir Mom said, I've been saying this from the start. And Kat said, maybe she wants to be like that. Exactly. And we have to assume she wants to be like that until we know anything different. Again, who are any of you to invalidate a woman's choice? If that's how she wants to live, that's how she wants to live. Who are you to invalidate that? Miss Know-It-All says, if you are logical, you cannot say that the matriarchy does not work in some cases. Name one society in the world that was ever run by a matriarchy. Name one. Successfully. You can't name one. There are 195 countries in the world, and not one of them is run by a matriarchy. Even if there is a woman in a leadership position, it's not run by women. If there was ever a battle and a challenge between one country and another, who goes to war? Ain't a whole bunch of men. There's a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch of women. There's a whole bunch of men. There is not one society you can name, not one army you can name that was led by a woman and was staffed with mostly women who were successful. You can't name a single one. Not in real life, maybe in a movie. What was that movie with Queen Latifah where she was beating everybody up? No, that's fiction. In real life, you can't name a single matriarchal society that survived, because if the men in another society said, oh, that society over there is run by women, let's go take that one over. What are they going to do, fight? And they got wiped out. So, no, what you're talking about, Miss Know-It-All, is incorrect. There is no matriarchy that has worked in a big picture. I'm not talking about matriarchy like a single mom running her household. That's not what I mean. Not in the micro level. I'm talking about the macro level. Because even a single mom running her household, if your ex-boyfriend comes to the house and he's acting crazy and he's trying to break down your door, what are you going to do? Are you going to open the door and fist fight your ex-boyfriend? No. What are you going to do? You're going to call your current boyfriend or your husband, or you're going to call the cops. And who's that going to be? A man who comes to defend you. True or not? So feminists just don't like when you put this so logically and clear, because a lot of feminists have bought emotionally into this argument that men and women are equal. They're not. Doesn't mean women do not have value, but they're not equal. That's why all of society was built by men, and it is maintained by men. And if any woman is running anything and it gets threatened, Who do you call to defend yourself? A man. You don't call women to defend you. You call a man to defend you. If a man's trying to kick down your door because he knows you're home by yourself, you don't call your girlfriend and say, hey, come help me. No, you call a man and say, come help me. Whether that's a cop or a man you know, or your brother or your dad or your uncle. You don't call a woman, say, hey, come commiserate with me because this man's trying to kick down my door. All right, you'll be strangled to death by the time y'all get done talking. Theoretically. Miss Know-It-All said, I don't give two hoots about Kanye or Bianca or who tells who what to wear. Well, that's the topic here today. So if you don't, that's fine. But that's the topic. Tiny207 said, you are not wrong. Well, thank you, Tiny. Respectfully, I know I'm not wrong. This is a logical argument. It's not a theory. It's just a logical argument. Tiny said, I'm okay with men in charge. And women who are in their feminine are okay with men in charge. It's feminists, which is kind of the opposite. They want to push this argument that women and men can both lead. And it's generally not true. Not anything that involves any danger. Real leadership involves danger. Women are getting put into leadership positions now because there's no inherent danger in leadership these days. But back in the days of George Washington, there was inherent danger in being a leader. Had the United States lost the Revolutionary War, all the heroes that you know about would have been sent to the guillotine. They would have been burned at the stake, including George Washington, had they lost. But now that everything is generally safe, now we got women CEOs and quote unquote girl bosses. And they're bosses until things go wrong. And all of a sudden, you either need a man or you're blaming a man. Miss Know-It-All said, if a woman can command a man to get in harm's way for her, she is the boss. No, she's not. Because if the man says, I'm not doing it, what's the woman going to do? Miss Know-It-All, your argument falls apart with one question. If a woman says to a man, you need to do this, and the man says, no, I'm not doing it. If you tell me to do it again, I'm going to punch you in your face and then choke you to death. What's the woman going to do? Fight? So what you said is incorrect. And again, I'm speaking in generalities. There are some women out there who can fight and some men who can't. But generally, you get my point. Do you not? Melissa said the Bible is very clear about women in leadership positions. Well, what does it say, Melissa? Tell us. Tara said, I'm in Broward. Shout out to Broward. Prayers at work say Kanye is her job, not her adventure. Her family will get all his money and music. Yeah, right. You don't believe that. Nostalgic said, pretty sure she was asked by Kanye to do these things and she agreed. Exactly. So she had a right to choose. Right? She could have said no. She said yes. No Tread said no class. So some people believe that, yes. But again, look around the world. We can't just get mad at her. Look at Instagram. This is generally accepted now, folks. This is where we're at. Kat said, we're all assuming until we hear from her, we don't know the truth. Exactly. So the only thing we can go off of is what we actually know. Not assumptions. I'm going off what we actually know. And I'm comparing that to the frame of feminism, which is woman does what they want to do. Triller33 said, it's not my business. I like the view, though. Yeah, me too, generally. Cassie said, I love watching you. Very wise and smart. Thank you. Casey. Is it Cassie or Casey? Appreciate you, Casey Gendron. Taisha says, I wasn't worried so much about how she looked, but from a hygiene perspective. Yeah, I heard a couple people say that. Well, she sits down in one of the seats. She's letting all of that get on the seat. Randy said, I had a couple of women that have come to the club with only a coat on. That was their choice. Yes, that's right. And it was also your choice, Randy, to go to the club with them. All right. I think you had a good idea what kind of woman they were before you decided to go to the club with them. CD Legacy said Ice T. It was giving Ice T and Coco vibes. I remember that. Are they still together? Ice T and Coco? I remember they had a TV show, right? C. Rue says it goes both ways. Correct. Know-It-All said the matriarchy is alive and well. Works for some and doesn't fit for others. Well, the matriarchy works when everything is safe and sound. Doesn't work when there's real danger. There's no matriarchy. If the United States got invaded by one of our foreign enemies right now today and the American army started knocking door by door and handing guns to whoever was in the house and say, come out and defend us on the front lines because the enemy is coming through your town, how many women would grab a gun and say, I'm going out there to lay my life on the line to protect my kids and my house? How many of you women listening to this would say, yes, I'm going out there with the gun? And how many of you would say, well, I'm sending my husband or my son or my brother to go get it, go do it? So matriarchy sounds good when everything is safe. What would you do when it's not? I appreciate that, Cassie. You like the tie? Me too. Taisha said, I don't think you should have certain body parts out in public areas when we know how germs work. I agree with you. Taisha said, I thought she did get arrested. No, she didn't get arrested. There was some story that they kicked her out. They didn't kick her out. Free publicity. Yes, it worked. And this is the thing, the bar for decency has continually gotten lower. So it used to be a woman could wear a nice, tasteful dress and get attention. Then a dress had to be a little bit shorter. Then she had to have her ass out. And now you got to dress like that all the time. So the bar for what draws attention has shifted. Yes, StarsCraft, exactly. So many laws have been relaxed to the detriment of the country, like the border enforcement. And so laws exist as much as they are enforced. If you don't enforce a law, it's not a law. You don't enforce a rule, it's not a rule. I think Kanye is trying to bring that to light. Maybe. We don't know. That's the issue. We don't know what he's doing. So I lost my spot here. Corva said J6 was not a peaceful protest. I did a whole live stream on J6. For the most part, it was peaceful. There were some people who were not peaceful, but for the most part, it was peaceful. Now, the part you saw on the news was the part that wasn't peaceful, but there was a whole bunch of people there who didn't do anything. Lovely Twice said, why do you put all the blame and accountability on just women? I'm not putting it all on women. I said men take ownership. This is the reason why men are leaders. This is the reason why men built society. Women have been around since Adam and Eve. Why have women never led? Because men take ownership. And your question is really a straw man question. It's emotional blackmail. Because I didn't say that. I said if a woman makes a choice, she is responsible for that choice. If you believe women had the power to choose. So if a woman does something that you disagree with, you need to check the woman, not the man. So Miss Know-It-All says, people are responsible for their actions, whether they are male or female. Never once did I say that's not the case. Everybody heard me say it. Again, this is what women do. Women do with this circular reasoning when they get emotionally triggered is they start making straw man arguments, saying things that I didn't say. Is there anywhere in this live stream, those of you who are listening to me, where I said a woman is not responsible for her actions or a man is not responsible? Never once have I said that. So please miss me with the straw man logical fallacies. If you believe women have agency, that means a woman does something you disagree with, you check the woman, you don't check the man, period. We're allowed to have opinions about fashion or non-fashion. Ugly fashion to me may not. What are you even talking about? Please stay on topic, folks. Sarah said, why is everybody mad Elon's in the treasury? That's not the topic here today, Sarah. Know-It-All said, you did say all without a disclaimer. And I already addressed that. Do you not understand the generality I'm speaking in? If I say a Ferrari is faster than a Honda Civic, do I need to tell you that sometimes a Honda Civic might win in a race? You generally understand the point, do you not? Again, this is what happens with women when they're emotionally triggered. They start trying to pull at strings and try to find anything to be right about. They call this sign language. Shame, insults, guilt, and need to be right. Any of you men ever had a conversation with a woman who's emotionally triggered? These are the things you're going to see. Shame, insults, guilt, and trying to find a way to be right about something just so they can save face in the conversation. Instead of just accepting that your point is a solid point. Know-It-All said, if you're pro-patriarchy, come get the men who want to use women's restrooms. But I'm against that. But those men are claiming that they're women. So which one is it? That's it. Red Pepper said, are we discussing other people's business? We're discussing public business. If you put it out in the public, people are going to talk about it. Welcome to the internet. Are you new here? That's how the internet works. People talk about what you put out there. You put your business in the street, people are going to talk about it. That's how it works. Case said, any woman who's been abused knows that men are strong and we are not the same. Well, even women who haven't been abused pretty much understand that general point. Taisha says, that's a weird statement. Not everyone relies on men. Again, if there was a rival army burning things down and taking the life of everybody in your town, would you go outside and fight, Taisha? Or would you hope that a man goes out there and fights for you? Which one would you do? Generally, we know that the women will stay in the house with the kids and the men will go out there and put their lives on the line to defend you. There's no pushback to this. Taisha said, this is a very toxic conversation. Yeah, right. Yes, it's toxic to feminists who are in their emotions. What did I say that was toxic? Name one thing. Had the count said, you, sir, are correct. That does not mean that women are intelligent and capable. I said at the very beginning of this live that Kanye's wife allegedly has degrees and she was a professional in the business world before she got with Kanye. So yes, she is. I'm making an argument for that. That's what feminism says, that women are fully capable. So if she does something you don't like, you got to hold the women accountable, not the man. So woman said, by the way, I missed that. So who is Trump going to fight? What if the Secret Service doesn't protect him? Men in general. I'm not talking about any one man. There are plenty of men out there who can't physically fight. And there are plenty of women out there who can. Again, all right, so this is the last time I'm going to do this when any of you throw a straw man out there. Now I'm going to start skipping over them. Yes, there are men out there who cannot fight, and there are women out there who can fight. Generally speaking, which one is the stronger group, the males or the females? Physically, the males or the females? All right, everyone knows the answer. Someone said, me, I'm a better shot than my husband, LOL, fine. And you women who are saying you will go out and fight, you understand that you be in the minority, right? If everybody who wanted to fight came outside, would there be more men or more women? Everybody knows the answer. What would happen if a man came out in a see-through suit arrested? Yes. Yeah, because people enforce the laws differently. I would hope whoever is best qualified would fight. See, Taisha, we ain't got time for all that shit. There's an army coming down the street. We ain't got time for qualified. All right? We ain't got time for conversation. It's whoever wants to fight comes outside. So my question to you, Taisha, would you come outside or not? Would you come outside with a gun, or would you hide in the bathroom with the kids? And see, when you put it that way, women try to come up with some way to talk around the question. All right, what would you do? Would you grab a gun and come out and fight where you're risking your life, or would you hide in the bathroom with the kids and hope that the man protect you? Everybody knows the answer. Miss Know-It-All, please. She said there are many fighting techniques. All right. Would you come outside with a gun and fight? And if you did, would you be in a minority or the majority between men and women? Everybody knows the answer. Casey said, even if I wanted to fight, my husband and son would not allow that. That's real love, protection. Exactly. That's a man's role. That's a man's responsibility. Sarah said, feminism has me working like a man, taking care of the home and the kids. And being a wife, I'm tired. I get it. Well, that's what feminism said they want. So that's the whole point. So J.M. Lorenzo over on YouTube said abuse is BDSM, humiliation, kink, and he's forcing her and everyone else to participate. You got to prove that, J.M. You can't prove it. We don't have to accept it. You got to prove it. You accuse someone of something negative, you have to prove it. We don't have to accept it and disprove you. You have to prove your point. You make the claim, you got to prove it. It's called the burden of proof. That's the way it works in America. So all that being said, folks, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. And hopefully tomorrow, I might take a nap here today. I got to knock out this fever that I picked up from my son, whatever this is. I might take a nap here today. I might just keep working. But I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. If you're not on my YouTube channel, the link to my YouTube channel is in the description of, not the description, in my profile here on TikTok. I'm on all the other social apps. Again, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I will be live the rest of this week. Next week, I'm going to be traveling. So I'm going to do Monday, but then I might miss the rest of the week. We'll see. We'll see what the schedule is once I get to where I'm going. I'll be in Vegas next week from Tuesday through the rest of the week. But make sure you are following me. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my profile over here on TikTok. And I'm also on Instagram. The link is in my profile as well. I'm on Facebook, Rumble, X, and everything else. LinkedIn. So everybody, appreciate you all's time and attention. I will see you all tomorrow. I don't know what the topic will be. It's to be determined. Usually it's current events. So we'll see what's happening and we'll get to it then. See y'all tomorrow. Work on your game. Yeah.